market, what do you do? What do you do? How do you know? Do you have any way to check whether these numbers, this informs speculation, what they're disclosing? Where do you look for? Where do you look for the disclosures?
I look for this sa PSC Edge po.
PSC Edge, very good, right? In other words, every day you have to basically spend some time, right? Going over the PSC Edge so that you go to what? Go to billionario.com. Yung tabloid ng Pilipinas, right? Just to be able to see, ano ba nangyayari dyan? Anong kwento din? Right?
Yes.
Di ba? You guys have to give me some, I can't see it talaga. Wala akong makita. What's the next one? Who's the next guy?
Gabriel.
Hello.
Have you ever been in the market?
Yes.
Okay, so what's your favorite stock?
Probably, I don't know. Like for me, my favorite is Dito because that's the one I made the most money on.
So what's the kwento on Dito?
It's the third telecom. That story. It's like gonna be the next PLDT ganon.
So that's the narrative. Have you ever checked what's the valuations of Dito?
Yeah, they don't have like any profits yet or anything. They're still in the process of doing that. Like there's no numbers yet to show for it.
Okay, and have you ever looked at the total market cap?
I think it was around the same as like Globe or Tel at the time where it was like being pumped up.
Okay, so when you're seeing valuations that are near almost Globe and telephone numbers, how do you now treat Dito? Do you treat Dito as what? How do you trade Dito? Do you buy it on an investment, or do you trade it?
You're supposed to trade it, I think, because it's all speculation and narrative. There's no numbers yet, so you have to treat it as a speculative stock.
Okay, very good. Okay, all right. So I have a list, so I can go back. All right. Okay. Who's the one beside the guy in white? Marco.
Hello po.
So what did you learn from Nell's presentation? Nell was the second one, right?
Charles.
After Charles was Nell, right?
Yeah.
Yes. What did you learn from Nell's presentation?
I learned po the importance of mega trends and the disruptive innovators in industries. So like we talked about ARC investments, growing trends, and then how these things can form a great narrative.
Very good. Yes. Okay. Very good. So that means you understand what Nell is saying. Huh? That's good. Huh? I was trying to listen to him. Yeah. But good. What's the next one? Who's the next guy beside him? Back to the Russell. What about you? What did you learn from Nell?
I also learned about moats and competitive advantages and why it's important to have them. So, like the moats also include like tangible assets like ISPs or maybe even special marketing that they can only have, or yeah. So it's like the network effect. I also learned that.
What sector do you like from the mega trends that he was talking about? Did you try to understand the different sectors? How did you guys qualify? Each group has different mega trends, different sectors, or
As of now, they can really pick muna. Yeah, they
can
first output, they can pick.
Okay. So sila magpipili. Okay. Who's the lady? The one? Nicole. How are you?
I'm doing okay naman.
Natulog ka ba sa weekend? Ako, hindi ako nakatulog kasi trying to listen to as much as possible, everybody. So what did you learn from Nell?
Um, Kind of similar with Marco and Russell. For me, what I really remembered was the moat and the mega trends. And since I'm kind of a beginner, it also gave me an idea about like what to focus on with fundamental analysis. And it was also super helpful to know about like what we have to consider with fundamental and also like supplemented by the pre-internship technical modules. So in general, I just learned a lot about how to look at the stock and think about like the trends and like the future.
Okay. Okay. All right. So what's again? Royce,
Hello po.
did you spend time really listening to Tim, or is it very similar to Nell? Their presentation.
To who, sir?
Tim, the last speaker. How was it?
For me, it was more on, kasi parang diba Charles was talking more about the numbers and then Nell was talking more about the narrative. So parang the last speaker was mostly like how to put the two together. So I think
Okay.
it was helpful din naman.
Yes. Okay. Did you ever from all the three or four examples that he gave, were you able to choose which company that is more interesting for you?
For me, parang same lang naman.
Which one?
Parang like the companies that were given, parang for me same lang naman.
They're the same.
Yeah.
Okay. But who's the lady that next? Huh?
Danny.
Danny, how are you?
Hi, sir. I'm doing okay naman.
Did you sleep over the weekend? Was it too much? How was it? Kaya ba?
Yeah, I was okay naman.
You're okay. So what did you
Yeah.
learn from them? What did you learn from them?
From Nell?
From Nell or Tim? I think all of the three basically are almost very similar, right? They talk about the narrative, they talk about the numbers, they talk about Tim. I tried to listen to Tim, and basically Tim was showing some examples of the different narratives. And I think the last one that he presented was Penn National, which is basically from the traditional businesses, what they call traditional casinos. They're now moving to the most of the e-games, online gaming, right? So if you look at it, you will be able to see that some of the traditional businesses are also innovating, right? They're trying to go to the new generations of online gaming and so what did you was any of the companies that team presented gave you some interest? Parang may nakita ka bang interesting of all the presentation of team, some example of the issues that they presented? Did anything ring your bell? I mean, make it interesting.
I guess there was one session when I think it was who presented it, the big ideas of 2021 and how um everything's gonna be in the future. So digital wallets specifically, since we see it right now na people are trying to adapt to it. So we see na mga GCash, there's like a future towards it, and like PayPal in the US, it's also quite booming. And here in the Philippines, there's also Paymaya. So I think it's also pretty interesting. Like we see how the stories actually uh are growing and are actually implemented eventually.
Okay, very good, very good. Who's the next one?
Nathan.
Huh?
Nathan.
What's his name?
Nathan, boss.
Wala.
Nathan, you're next.
Yeah, hello.
Nathan,
hello.
what about you? What did you learn?
Kanya.
Okay.
I guess for me, my most important takeaway was yung assessing of when looking for a good company is looking at mega trends and yung disruptive technology, like the role it plays, like macroeconomically.
Okay, okay, very good. What's the next one? Huh?
Tech. That's his name.
Tech.
Hello, sir.
What about you? What did you learn last weekend?
Um, I think alongside with everyone, also the importance of megatrends. Also focusing on actually giving importance to both the narrative and the story. Because I've done trading experience before, and I've only ever focused on numbers, and actually seeing how narratives come into play and how it gives importance to not only valuating the company but also giving you some sort of insight on how to be able to go upon things was so it's very insightful for me to hear from the two speakers that I've heard.
Okay, very good. What about the other next one? Abe. What about you, Abe? What did you learn from them?
Mostly it's more on combining the numbers and narratives because actually I've been since I think last year I've seen this on a stock. It's Nikola. So Nikola is basically like they were saying that oh, this is gonna be like the next competitor to Tesla. But then when you look at their their finances, it's still zero in revenue. And they have although they have like 10 billion in pre-orders, like there's the story there, but then in terms of the numbers it doesn't back up. So I was like seeing like how it all plays out, like fundamental analysis, although it does not exclusively just go with numbers, it also goes in narratives, but like the two have to be combined together to be able to see, like am I going to invest in this company, and in the long term will this company be profitable? So that's what I really learned last week, like combining those two together.
Okay, very good. Adrian, what about you?
Both Alvin.
Sorry. Alvin, what about you?
Yes, sir. So I guess one thing that I really learned was the 3 levels of fundamental analysis. So that's like reality, perception, and expectations. So for reality, yeah, it's really looking at the business. If it's a good business to start with, so does it have a good competitive advantage? How is the industry doing? And then yeah, it really changed my mind because what's the use of a good company if the people don't perceive it as a good company in the first place? So it's really important to know how the market is looking at it. And yeah, for example, we see a stock and we think it's a very good stock, but the market currently undervalues it. So it's really important to know, is it undervalued for a good reason? Like, is it because the future prospects are bad? Or is it only undervalued because people don't see the intrinsic value yet? So yeah, to tie that off, it would be the expectation. So in the near term, do we see a possible catalyst which can parang quote unquote correct it to its actual value? So yeah, that was really insightful for me, sir.
Very good, very good. And the next one. Huh?
Jethro.
What about you?
Hi, sir. I think my most important takeaways from last week, um, were first the importance of narratives and um the importance of megatrends. So I think for the first one, because as an analyst, I'm really obsessed with the numbers, and I can't settle down when I can't find numbers supporting what's really happening. But then I realized, like from the lectures last week, that it's not always possible to find numbers to um make like good analysis, especially for companies at the growth stage. So I think at least for the fundamental analysis, it's important to check the narrative of the company, who their customers are, and what they're doing to innovate in the market. Then for the megatrends, I like how uh I think it was Sir Nell, not sure, but then who mentioned the big trends in 2021. And yeah, this is my first time to check to like see the list, and it's very interesting to see that these trends are changing year from year, and it's very I think it's very important to watch them all the time.
Okay, very good. Next one.
Hazel.
Hazel.
Second name niya.
Hazel.
Hello. clear po?
Yeah.
I can't open my camera because of Wi-Fi issues. I apologize po.
It's okay.
Wi-Fi.
It's okay, no
Just
problem.
like everyone,
What did you learn last week?
actually, it's a little bit overwhelming for me, but I really enjoyed it because at first I thought that I'm a newbie in this stock trading, but just this week I realized that I'm not just a newbie, but a very very much newbie. But so this week I really learned a lot, and it really interests me a lot, and especially with the numbers and the narratives, with what are the things to consider to become high priority companies, and the tips on analysis, the research process, literally a lot. And this weekend, I really tried to review everything and rewatch everything. And I'm happy with for myself that I was able to like make a checklist of
Okay. So
what
what is
are
your
the things to
checklist?
consider.
What do you prioritize first? Do you prioritize the sectors that you want to be focused on, or do you look at the individual issues already in that particular sector? So what will be your priority?
Just like I learned from Sir, I forgot the name, sorry, pero maybe I'll start with the sector or industry analysis first to search for mega trends first to know what are the mega trends, and then to know what are the companies that are benefiting from it, and what can I do to participate in the analysis, and eventually make a profit out of it.
Okay, very good. Who else, sir? Huh? Who else pa? Sino pa? We're good? Okay. All right. So let me just share with you my priority. It's the same, no? So we look at sectors basically that we like, especially on the megatrend side. And my favorite, of course, is the electrical vehicle. Somebody was talking about the Nicola. Who's the guy?
Jetro? Parang si Abe.
Who wanted who talk about the Nicola story?
I think it's
Sino
Me
ba yan?
po.
Okay, yeah. So the same thing, no? So of course, as far as I'm concerned, I think the reason why I focus on it is basically it's because it's from the traditional businesses like Ford, GM, Volkswagen, Toyota. All of them basically are going to a replacement cycle, meaning they don't have a choice. They have to start going from the traditional engine, diesel, the traditional engine, and they're moving into electrical vehicle. So for me, that's the easiest because the rest will be more difficult to be able to quantify, right? Do you understand? So for me, mine is that let's say the Neo, the XPEV, even the traditional, because everybody has to base by 2030 or up to 2040, it's called what we call a replacement cycle. Like me, for example, I use the traditional engine cars that I used to buy. Now I'm waiting for what? I'm waiting for an electrical vehicle, let's say from Audi, right? Or from Volkswagen. Once they come up with it, I will now prioritize to purchase an electric vehicle, right? So for me, the one that I really like among all the sectors, ang dami. Yan ang pinipili ko talaga. All right? So even the traditional like Ford, GM, Toyota, you're seeing new highs already. Because it's like they sell about 30, 40 million cars a year, right? Diba? So in other words, they are now basically playing catch up to Tesla. Because these guys, all these traditional car manufacturers has the logistics, they have the infrastructure. Once, for example, Ford, naglabas ng Mustang, boom. Naglabas ng F-150, boom. Right? So these are the things that are very important, no? Because they're still, in a way, cheap, right? Because everybody's buying all these electrical vehicle, and there are only a few players that can really have that infrastructure. So when we were talking about Nicola, you have to remember Nicola signed with GM. In other words, Nicola is basically a concept. So may kwento siya. So ang ginawa niya is to tie up with GM so that GM can build their electrical trucks. Do you get it? Eh? Right? The only thing is, of course, like us, we look at the valuations also. Diba? Kasi the market cap went to I think more than 20 billion when it was being speculated. So you need to understand narratives and numbers, because numbers basically the most of the stocks that are most of the sectors that are provided for you last week are mostly narrative based. Kasi you're buying the future, diba? Like ARK Invest is all about the next 10, 20 years and what's gonna happen, right? So a lot of speculative, what we call informed businesses lang yan, informed yan. So during last 2020, ARK basically went up 300-400 times yan. But today, it's back to reality. Now, you need to create those numbers. Kailangan may numero na. Kasi pag walang numero yan, that stock will just stay sideways lang yan. Sideways or a little bit lower. Okay? That's good, huh? That's good. All right, so I asked you guys to wait. Did you send the
video?
The video?
Yes.
Did you guys watch the video that I presented in April, end of April? Okay, so I want to go over with you guys, but you will have an idea of how we look at things, at least in the Philippine context. On the Philippine context. Do you have the slides of that? The slides of that?
For last Saturday?
No, 2 Saturdays. Two
So
Saturdays.
April 30.
April 30. So I just use this. Is Harold with us? Harold, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Harold, did you watch the video that we presented last that I presented last April 30? What did you learn from there? Just one. What did you learn from there?
I really like the part where you talked about the IPOs on how we should wait parang for it to consolidate muna and for the market to cool down before we actually make a decision to buy or not. So it's very relatable for me kasi I experienced it na naipit sa IPO.
So what did you experience? What stock did you experience?
Actually, that time I was actually gambling lang in a sense because I entered IPO of Cemex in 2016 and then wala, parang piniipit ko lang yung money ko dun.
Okay. So Cemex, that's what? 2000 ano yan?
2016.
2016. Okay, so you've been in the market for quite some time already. So after that experience, what did you learn from it?
Actually,
Mahirap
yeah.
kumita sa market.
Yeah, actually that's one. And then I it's kind of sad din. Tapos medyo I stopped trading after that experience, after that bad experience. So ngayon, I'm just trying to start again. Sorry?
The stock went up 80%. Is it more than 80%?
I'm not sure. If I remember correctly, parang 11 pesos ko nabili. And then right now it's 1 or 2.
90%.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hazel, what did you learn from that presentation?
Just like him, sir, about the IPO, especially with the hype of Monday IPO, not to buy immediately or be with the hype, and to wait for the market to consolidate and to know the what's gonna happen first before entering the market, because it'll be like gambling.
So like Monday, do you think Monday was hype?
I haven't researched well about Monday yet, but I guess.
All right. Harold, Tristan. What did you learn from that video? Did you send it to everybody? To all the interns ba yan?
Yes.
So 700 plus ka na, pinadala natin lang.
Doon sa intern.
Just the interns lang. Okay, all right. What about you? What did you learn? Harold?
Ako po ulit.
Huh?
Is it me? Oh, okay. Yes, ako ulit.
Ay, ikaw. Ikaw ba tinanong mo? Kanina. Sorry. Oh, tama. Sorry, namawala ako. Dayan. Eros. Dayan?
Parang she's not here.
She's not there. Okay. Tech Chia. Tech, what did you learn?
Hello, sir. IPOs. Well, I was there for Coinbase's release for their IPO, and well, I got the losing end of it because it was all hype for my friends and I. We tried to ride the wave, but I didn't end up getting to um pull it off successfully because I wasn't as well versed and knowledge about everything that happens straight after what you were talking about waiting for it to consolidate, because it's really like gambling. And mostly about that, learning. Sorry. Sorry. uh Sorry,
What
chairman,
else?
I can't formulate my words right now.
It's okay. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Yeah. A. Abe, is it?
Abe.
Yes, po.
Yes. What did you learn anything from that presentation?
I think I would like to highlight in the first part, especially with regards to capitulation, especially since I mean, although it rarely happens, but like it just goes to show that in the market there's always going to be opportunity regardless of whether you see that it's a bearish market or a bullish market. It doesn't mean that that you have to stop, but it also means that you have to wait for the opportunity. So as in the same sense for the IPOs, it's all about, like, trading or investing is mostly about waiting. It's mostly about being patient. It's not of like, oh, I'm going in because I'm gonna get a fear of missing out, or without having a plan. Because at the end of the day, it's mostly if if, for example, a stock goes up and you miss it, at least you didn't lose any capital from it, rather than you FOMO'd your way into it, and then after that you at the end you just regret na saying na, I shouldn't have entered it because I didn't have a plan to exit or to have a target price. So yeah, it's mostly about that there's opportunity in the market always, but always remember that to be patient when you enter into something, always have a plan.
Okay, very good. Erica's not here, no?
Not here.
Okay, Pierre, are you there? Pierre?
Kawawa.
Saan?
He just entered. Pierre?
Pierre?
Nag-message siya, putol-putol daw net niya, hindi siya makapasok ng maayos.
Okay. Next one is Nathaniel.
Nathan is here.
Nathan, what did you learn from that video?
Okay, I guess for IPOs or raising funds na lang in general, it's really important to look at kung ano yung plans ng company for using those funds, because it's possible na they're offering stock, pero most of a good chunk of it is just gonna be used for debt repayments or getting debt, or in other cases these companies can actually use it for huge capex to further increase yung future cash flows nila.
Okay. Nawala si Pierre. Okay. Next one is Adriel.
Adriel is not here, no?
Wala? Harold.
Siya ulit.
Harold C. Wala?
Yes, ako po ulit.
Ay, ikaw na una?
Opo.
There's a Harold Tristan ata. Wala dito.
Oh.
Nagpalo.
O sige, si Alvin Benson. Alvin.
Yes, sir.
Oh, so what did you learn from that tape?
Well, yeah, kasi before my mindset was like, don't participate in IPOs because the incentive to sell them is very high. So yeah, the incentive of people just hyping it up is very high. Because yeah, of course, the banks would try to sell it as much as they can. So it's probably overpriced. So yeah, that was my mindset before. But then after looking at the video, yeah, that can be true for the first few days. But then if you're patient enough, like you can wait naman for the consolidation before buying it. Kasi at least even though it's hype, parang you see at least somewhat of a indicator that yeah, like you could have a good entry naman kahit it's hype at the beginning. But then yeah, the important thing is really to understand what's the business and then what are the growth prospects. Because if you're just gonna listen to people in YouTube, oh buy new IPO, then yeah, you'll probably end up in a bad place, sir.
Okay. Who else is there? Who else? Danny. Danny's there?
Yes.
Danny, what did you learn?
Actually, also more on IPOs, but more on the narrative side and the fundamentals. Since as a technical trader myself, I think the only time I participated in IPOs was for conversion. But then I only participated because I saw a double bottom for me chart. So I was
You're a market technician?
more in technicals, sir. Yeah.
So where did you learn your technical analysis?
Mostly through my dad and the seminar he made me attend. So it got exposed me to different chart patterns.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. So what's your favorite indicator?
MA, sir.
Moving average. What MA do you use?
20, 50, and sometimes 10 also, sir. But usually it's 20, 50, 100 just to see long term, mid term, and like a few weeks.
We'll ask you to teach on technical analysis. Okay lang?
Sir, I'm not that good pa.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Kyle, Patrick, go. What did you learn?
Uh, what I learned is the importance ng 4Ps into fundamental analysis. Yung price, product, people, product, potential, and profitability. Kasi I think that's very important kasi it makes us study what we're getting into. Kasi also as a technical trader, parang hindi ko na masyado tinitignan yung fundamentals minsan. Pag nakita ko lang yung chart, I get into it without knowing what the company is. So this is very important for me, yung 4Ps.
Very good. So who else? Makita. Alvin. Francesca, wala, no?
Wala.
Okay.
Russell, Royce.
Royce.
Hello.
Yes.
For me po, the one I think I really appreciated the most was the capitulation mean reversion thing. Kasi parang yun yeah, based on technicals, usually they say avoid downtrending charts, di ba? Pero yun yeah, that strategy is mostly, like it's eye-opening in the sense, kasi kunyari yung mga Ayala, Aboitiz, usually when I saw those type of charts, agad I would not look at them anymore. But I didn't know na may ganun palang type of strategy where you can buy even on the downtrend.
So why do you think we presented that? The counter trend, capitulation, mean reversion. What was the catalyst that we basically decided to participate on those capitulation, mean reversion play? What was the reason why?
I think it was because of the sentiment. Parang it was going down not based on the company's fundamentals mismo, but because of the market sentiment being not that good. You were buying even the...
What was the sentiment that created that negative sentiment? What is that catalyst that created that negative sentiment where prices are being sold irrationally?
I think that was fear of lockdowns, but I'm not too sure.
the underlying reason why we did that was because of the MSCI announcement of the uh, deletion or reduction in terms of the portfolio of most of the fund managers. So this is an MSCI rebalancing. It's a rebalancing. It's done every quarter. Every quarter. So every quarter you will have an opportunity to participate in what we call a MSCI addition, deletion, selling. No? If it's being deleted because our market is small, our market is very illiquid. No? So that's one of the reasons why we do not participate in any what we call irrational selling on any companies that fundamentally has a problem. Meaning if their earnings are bad and forward-looking earnings are really bad, we will never participate. Meaning when there's a capitulation that's happening, we do not participate, especially in the US market, we do not do that. We do not participate. Because if we do that, we will probably get into trouble. Now, most of the time, there's a capitulation, it just goes sideways, and then the resumption of the selling. No? Okay? So just for you to, we only use it during MSCI addition and deletion. Okay? So that you guys can understand, because we don't really do that. Like if there's an earnings problem, we do not participate. We just let it go, right? But this is because it was a rational selling that is coming about from the deletion of the MSCI. Okay? Anyway, I'll go over it later on. Okay. Who else? Jetro, are you done? Jetro?
Hi, sir.
What did you learn from last week's presentation?
I think same with the other people here. Yung ano sir, relation between price and sentiment. That earnings can continuously go up, but then since sentiment changes rapidly, it creates fluctuations to the company price. And yeah, same with the capitulation side, and so on.
Nicole. Nicole. Nicole?
Yeah.
Are you done?
Yeah. No, not yet.
Okay, sorry. Yes, what did you learn from last week?
For me po, for me what stuck a lot was the IPO and the mean reversion. So for the IPO kasi, I remembered before when Converge presented their IPO, my friends and I were talking about buying. So yung friend ko bumili, I didn't buy. And parang naalala ko lang kasi 'di ba the video said like you should wait first for consolidation. So my friend bought, tas bumaba. Tas naging sad siya. But now it's like getting parang tumataas naman. So I guess good for him. But yeah, so I guess for me it made me think na not to parang to avoid buying agad during the IPOs. Then for the mean reversion, I guess that it's stuck because I thought about like the COVID situation in the States, how parang because like a lot of people would use their portfolio or stocks as like their collateral when they would borrow money. And then the stock prices would go down, and then obviously they would have like forced liquidation and all that. So everything went down. But eventually, after the Fed started printing money, it got a bit better. So I just remember that, and I guess the point that you told one of the other interns about like when to participate in this, parang interesting lang siya, something to think about. Yeah.
Okay, I also talk about the difference between whether there is it a primary issue or a secondary issue. I don't know if were you able to listen to that. Why Converge for us Converge was basically a very good issue also. Pass all the checklists, people, product, potential, predictability. The problem is at that time when they issued it, it was expensive. The fair value, the intrinsic value is expensive. That's why we wanted it to let it come out first. Especially the second one is because the issue is a secondary issue. The bulk of it was issued. It was a private equity that is selling into the IPO. That's why we basically guide our investors just to stay out for a while, wait for it to have a sell-off, and then consolidate, and then beginning participating after the consolidation. Remember, I showed you the I think there was a video on that, on to talk about the hype of a hot IPO, right? Right, from investors.com. I think it was in IBD, no? It was IBD, no? That we showed a little video on waiting for market basically to open up, have a sell-off consolidation before participating, especially if this is a good company. No? The difference between Converge and Monde is totally different. It was not participated by the local. It was not a hype IPO, but it passes all the 4 P's: people, product, potential, predictability. Potential is basically because of the alternative need, right? And the beauty about this company is that 40 billion at that time, the 49 billion was raised for the expansion and paying of debts. You got it. It was not a secondary sale. It was basically a primary issue, no, for their expansion. So that's why when they changed the valuations from 1750 to 1350, we really asked most of our investors to participate. The thing is, of course, because it was such a huge IPO, and they always joke about elephants don't fly because it's such a big issue. So they always joke about it. If it's a big issue, then nobody participates. So they like the Double Dragon, the Merry Mark. It's just a 1 peso. Participate, it goes up because it's a primary issue. It's a small issue. So most people participate in those kind of a speculative play, no? With at least the speculative plays because of a narrative. There's a narrative about it, right? So there's just a joke here. Elephants don't fly down. Kasi pag masyadong malaki ang issue, hindi lumilipad yan, which is proven correct naman, di ba? Right? So the first few days, it basically was a lot of people who basically participated, and the expectation that it's gonna go up, but it did. So sold it up first. Then now it's starting to channel up already because it's such a big issue. So it will just go up and down. So the expectation it's going to be a 45 degrees, no? 45 degrees shot, not a 60 degree. It could be a 60 degree also, because it's really a very good issue. Okay. Who else? Who else has not been called? Russell, are you done? Aline, Aliana, are you there?
I think
She's not here today, boss.
She's not? Kobe, what did you learn, Kobe?
Same lang rin naman with the IPO discussion, since medyo napunta doon yung mind ko since everyone's talking about IPOs. It made me think a lot na, oftentimes when an IPO nowadays comes out, it's often at the very high end of the pricing. And me and a bunch of my friends were looking at Monde also because we were like curious, no? Parang lucky me, pero medyo mahal siya. At the same time, parang all of its hopes are betting on corn lang, parang medyo sketch. So again, it brought to us we also had to consider the possibility na people were just playing it lang rin, na people were buying it hoping that it would pop on like the first day and then get out of it as fast as possible. And so at the end of the day, we decided to avoid it. Having started investing also in 2016, I have quite a bit of experience watching IPOs, pero medyo iwas na rin ako sa IPO kasi nga sa panahon na yun, medyo nakakatakot pumasok ng IPO at the time. I remember sila Cemex, sila Haven, and so on. So, based also from personal experience, I guess I am a bit of what's the phrase? I am a bit avoidant of IPOs na rin.
Very good, very good. Okay, everybody called? Who else? Sino ba ang hindi na ano? Marco, yes. What did you learn?
I really like the part when you showed the graph, the one with the 2 quotes about intrinsic value and earnings and price, that there can be deviations sometimes, and that there's a lot of opportunity to be made when the price really deviates from the intrinsic value of the company.
Very good. Okay. So it's all about so there were three things that we talk about. One is of course the capitulation mean reversion, how this is done. This is we only do that during what we call market driven crash, meaning it's the index related crashes, no, that are happening, no. Plus of course the MSCI rebalancing, all these things are there. That's why we look into it, no. Then the second part is talk about the 4 Ps: the people, product, potential, predictable, right? And then the last is I think we talk about the what do you call this? The last part was when for the IPOs, when do we participate in? No? After a sell-off, we have to look from primary to the secondary, and then from there, when do we participate? And the video that we presented was really very crucial at most time when people if there's a hype IPO going on. So let me just share with you the presentation I did for last Saturday. I did another one last Saturday, and this is very simple. Just a few, just for you guys to have an idea that what happened during the mean reversion capitulation play that happened. Okay, so this was the same thing as during market-driven crash or the MSCI rebalancing. You would see stocks that are being deleted and added, and what you can see is that we use a certain indicators, market indicators. No? First is that you have to understand what is the fair value, right? Which you can get from any investment guide, and then what is this disparity going on? It's basically perception against reality. Because of a deletion doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the stock, right? So Ali was basically it's a lot of reduction, right? Because you have to understand stocks basically what is that fair value and what is now the reason why it's being sold down. The reason why it's being sold down is because of the MSCI reduction. All right. So what we do is we have some cheating. What are the cheatings that we do? First is that you need to see that it's being sold off, and then ADX, we use an indicator, no, to see that whether there's an underlying strength, the strength of the sell-off. In other words, it's showing a lot of irrational selling going on. Number two, we look at what? See if the insiders are going back into the market or buying back, because the insiders know what is really the fair value. So they will always, there will be a lot of corporate buybacks, so there will be a lot of individual shareholders will buy back. No? So those are the indicators we have. Where's the checklist? Go to the checklist here. All right. So the checklist, there's a checklist. And then look at the last one. It has to be market-driven sell-off. It's not basically because fundamentally there's a problem with the issue. There's no problem with the issue. So that's how we do it. So look at what happened for Ali and Aboiti's equity ventures that so it has rallied 15 to 20%, right? Since as of June 12. And then of course the other one is Aboiti's equity ventures at that time. When we were looking at it, look at the ADX down there. It's huge, 40, 50, 60 ADX. That means market is basically, it was selling off, a huge sell-off. And today that was also rallied, 10 to 15%. Okay, so please, these are rare opportunities. Only when there is a what we call a addition deletion in an MSCI. Vice versa, if you look at what's happening today. Can you go to the deletion? Yes, Century Tuna, for example. All right, we like Century Tuna before that. That was I think during the March, May. We talk about it also, right? That we like Century Tuna. The reason behind it was 13 to 15 times PE. Today, it's gone up so much also, and we didn't know that it was going to be added into the MSCI. So at this level, which is fair value already, we are now basically liquidating most of the issues that we bought. So you have to understand both addition and deletion. There are opportunities for us to participate. So we're talking about the local market in itself. Okay, and then The next one we talk about also is what we call the market cycle clock. All right. Let's go to the previous one first. What are the reversals, potential reversals? The previous one. Okay, so when during market sell-off, during, for example, like what happened to DNL, this is also one of our favorite stuff. During market sell-off, like last year, now a lot of issues have rallied all to the back to the top, no? But you would see that you will always see that there are some stock that will just, especially on the mid caps, it will just stay sideways. But this is what we call an L, no? Before a U, then before a square root. Okay, so let me show you the different patterns on reversal patterns. So there's basically this is what's happening. What happening is the first one is that a lot of square root can happen, a lot of retest to the double bottom, and the last is that's what happened to DNL. It basically had a sell-off, went sideways, rallied all to the way up, and now we're seeing that particular consolidation which is happening, which we think is very similar to the recovery play. It's coming in already, and what we're saying is that we look at this as an opportunity to start accumulating and basically participating in the DNL going forward. All right, so look at the DNL stock. Now, so a lot of you guys basically who are basically focusing on numbers, what will happen is that if you look at the fair value of DNL based on the first quarter earnings, no? Based on the first quarter earnings, they put a fair value at 960. Now, let me ask you a question. Who was the one who talked about that? Who was the one who discussed about numbers? Abe, is that you?
No, pa, it wasn't me.
Sino yung nag-talk about the who was very the interest in terms of numbers? There was somebody was talking about he liked numbers more than narratives. Who was that person? Sorry, sorry. You have the guys have to raise your hand.
I think it's tech.
Tech Chia.
Sir, yes.
Di ba you like numbers?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Sorry,
so
sir,
if you look at the numbers, they did the numbers. Our research people did the numbers. They put a value of 960. Okay, right?
Okay.
All right. So do we have a margin of safety? What's our margin of safety? Is always 15% to fair value. What's the fair value of 960 over? So magkano? 8 pesos.
Yes. 15% of, so 8.5 or 8.
So if you like numbers, the biggest problem with numbers today is that what do you think of that? What do you think will be the numbers of DNL on the second quarter? Good or bad?
Well, I think
let's go to PSEH. Let's look at it. Practice tayo, practice lang, practice.
Okay.
Can you just go to PSEH lang, go to DNL. Financials. Go to the bottom. So what is that bottom? What is that? Chia, tech. Look at those numbers.
Sir.
So has the company recovered from last year's numbers?
Yes. They have.
Okay, how many percent recovery?
How many percent recovery?
694, maybe 25 to 30%, right?
Yes.
Tama ba? Or 15, 20%?
Well, they raised the revenue by 1.4 million. No, 1.4 billion.
Okay. All right. So the problem is, if I'm buying a 15% margin of safety on 960, will you buy the issue? Just by looking at the revenues growing,
Yes, I
first
will.
growing, but then there is the price has gone up from 7.20, now it's at 8 pesos. Will you still participate based on these numbers now?
Yes.
You will, because you feel that the second quarter probably will be higher or lower, tingin mo? Probably
Higher.
probably higher, no? Okay. All right. Yeah. So this is how we process. This is how we process. We always have to look at the earnings. No, revenues, is it turning around? So let's go to the other issue which we talk about, which is AP, which is avoidance power. So during the capitulation, look at the first quarter numbers. Is it going up or going down?
It's going down.
Huh? First quarter numbers?
Oh.
From 2 billion to what? 6 billion.
Net income. Okay.
Yes, net income.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. It's okay. Practice lang tayo. Right? So in other words, the first quarter, AP has already shown recovery, right? And what happened is that MSCI, because of what? Because of ESG, maybe environment, social, governance, deleted the whole company in the MSCI during the rebalancing. So there were 3 companies that were deleted: AP, MEG, and Pure Gold. But AP, I think MEG and Pure Gold went to the smaller index, while AP completely zero. They close it out, no. So with AP, look at the from where we look at it. So now it's being sold down because of the deletion, right? But then the numbers are showing they're recovering. And look at the cash dividend. Cash dividend, the last, nawala yung cash dividend natin doon. Nawala. Dapat supposed to be last. Nawala. Bakit nawala yung cash dividend? Yung cash dividend on the right side yan. Nasa baba. Okay. So how much is the cash dividend?
85 cents.
So that's how many percent? 4%? 4%, no? Diba? 85 cents, more than 4%. Right? That's based on last year decline in earnings pa. So that was, if this year the earnings are going up, automatically we expect higher numbers in terms of cash dividend, right? So this is how I'm just explaining to you how I process, how I process these issues. So in other words, it's also very fundamental driven. It also very especially because we are advising a lot of our high net worth clients. Cash dividend is also part of the equation. In other words, the company, as it start turning around, numbers are growing already, and then they continue to give you cash dividend. Those are the issues that we really like. You got it? Meaning binentahan, di ba? Mura, at the same time, quarterly earnings is recovering. They're basically the reopening play, right? So that's why we look at all these kind of companies and we participate. Okay. All right. So just for you guys to have an idea of how we look at things. So we are indirectly also what? We're what we call active investors. Hindi kami active trade. What? I wear several hats, but for most of the clients that we basically manage, we are wearing that investing hat, active investing hat. Only when there's value, we look at values. There's always a margin of safety. The last margin of safety is what? They are paying you a dividend. Kailangan may cash dividend yan. Because if they're not paying a dividend to wait, then you have a problem. No? So we are very important. These are very important. No? Very important for us. No? We look at what? Earnings, recovery, earnings growth, or earnings recovery. We look at dividends. No? And then, of course, we also participate. We need to time it properly. Because if we don't time it properly, then we will have a problem also. Sometimes, like I said before, if prices starts going down, then you begin to doubt maybe there's another problem. Right? In the case of AP, is it possible for you to check the West End prices? The average West End prices last year was, I think, 250, 250. Can you do the West End prices now? Google mo. What is the West End prices today? Is it 360, 370? Right? So in other words, when you're doing when you're looking at a company, you really need to dig down. A lot of anecdotal evidences, no? Right? So basically, it's the cost of electricity, the West End prices, the market, whether it's going up, going down, is it recovering, right? So let's look at the West End prices now. What's the price now?
I have to click it.
I think mga 360 yan.
Hindi naka-chart eh.
Hindi naka-chart. The average. Anong average yun? Wala nakasulat.
Check. Isa eh. I'll find it first.
So everything we do, there's a checklist. We always have a checklist, right? Checklist. These companies that we're looking for, we have a checklist. All the time we have a checklist. Okay? Right? For us, it's very, very important, very critical. No? I think this week is all about, is it all about technical analysis? Is it this week? Who is the speaker this week for technical analysis?
So later it's Edmond, yung continuation from last week, and then yung si Rome and Peter.
Okay, so let me.
Sorry, it's here. Pero ano na?
What's the price now?
By Feb, it was like 2,000 to 3,000, ganon.
Mali. It should be about per kilowatt ba? Yeah. Cooler dry season 194. Yeah. Anyway, it's about I think 3 something already. So this recovered from 250 to about 350 yata. No? So we expect that the earnings, when you're buying all these companies, you need to. There's always what we call a cheating, right? When you dig deep, they'll be able to see it already. But those are all anecdotal, sir. All anecdotal yan, diba? So now may cheating talaga yan. Especially, let's say, for example, the problem is when corporation are coming up with numbers. That's the reason why we avoid those kind of presentations, especially when we see stocks has gone up so much without any news at all. And then going for earnings, we really avoid participating, especially in the US, we really avoid participating in. Mainly because it could be pricing in already, the rise of the prices. So in terms of when you're doing numbers, you really have to be careful whether it's pricing in already into the market or not. Diba? Okay, you understand? So, in other words, why do we still need fundamental analysis if the numbers are always behind? Diba? Kasi when markets are in other words, the price moves ahead of market. You understand? That's why all the technicians are saying, ay, hindi na kailangan mag-fundamentals kasi presyo lang naman yan eh. You got it? Right? Most of the fundamentalists will say, hindi na kailangan mag-technical kasi pricing in already, which I totally agree. Right? But this is what is really important is that if you don't know what you're buying or what you're doing, you won't be able to one is that you won't be able to have that mental preparation. So like me, for example, if I don't know the issue well, I need to check with my people, right? But do you think I can hold it? I can't hold it. What is really important is that I need to understand the narrative. I really need to understand the companies well. I really need to understand all the fundamentals numbers, the earnings, especially some of the companies basically will guide you on 2022, 2023. What are the consensus guidance already? You need to understand it also, right? So if you have a company that you like, you need to be able to see what are the most of the analysts are forecasting for 2022, 2000, because market is always looking forward. They're not basically backward. Tingnan all the historical numbers. People don't look at it. It's always moving forward. What is important is that especially during rebalancing, market-driven crash, then what is really important is you need to know your fair value. What is the intrinsic value? Because it could be so that there will be some huge selling. And then now that's where your disparity comes in. That's why fundamentals is very important, especially during market-driven crash, so that you will know what is the discount already, what is the market discounting already. No? So that's one of the reasons why we can participate in, let's say, Ayala Land, Aboitiz Power, Aboitiz, all these things we can win because we know what is that intrinsic value. So it's basically what is perception and what is reality. The reality is the fair value. That's your reality, right? And then what are being sold down? These are what we call perception because of markets deletion, markets addition. So very important yan. Kailangan naintindihan yan. Because that will open that opportunity. No? It will open an opportunity for us to participate during those market-driven crash, especially in the Philippines. In the US, it's too efficient. The market is too efficient for us. That's why in the US, we basically focus on strong issues, consolidating, pausing. That's what we do in the US. But in the Philippines, we look at all this type of, especially our developing countries will always have all these political crises, policy in terms of interest rates. Those are really opportunities for us to participate. Okay, can you go to the slide on
One.
the same slide?
Market cycle clock.
Market cycle clock. So I was being asked last week. So market has rallied so much. What do we do? Do we hold? Do we sell? Right? So what we did was I presented what we called a market cycle clock. This was developed, I think, more than 10 years ago, right? In other words, what we did was we put everything into a quadrant, the different 4 quadrants now. So quadrant 1 is basically a reversal. The market is still trying to reverse, right? And then quadrant 2 is after it reverses, the beginning of the trend, strong trend, which is what we call a strong bull. And then the market on the 3rd quarter is what we call a weak bull, right? A weak bull is markets are overbought, so you're looking for what? A lot of consolidation on the right side. And then the pandemic, like last year, was what we call a strong bear. It broke down a lot of, it capitulated last year. So I think the most important is that you need to understand, because once you understand the quadrants, in other words, you look at it from a major perspective, what will happen is that now you can execute your strategy. So what we did in the Philippines, the next slide, which we put it in different quadrants, right? In other words, even if the market, let's say we look at it, we see the strong ADX in the 2012, 2013 rallies. Market went up a lot from 2008, 2009. We had a very strong bull market, right? And then after the sell-off, it's the beginning of what we call the weak bull, meaning it's just went sideways. So what will happen is people are saying, sir, why do you say that it's going new high? Why do you say it's a weak bull, right? In other words, growth has been what? Growing single digit, right? Single digit. Then, of course, the market sell off in 2018 because of the policy, the normalization of the 10-year US Treasury, and then rallied, and then the crash came because of the pandemic. So let me ask you a question. Are we out of the Q2 or not? Let's ask. Sino yung technician dyan? Si the lady. Nicole. Nicole ba?
Danny.
Huh?
Danny.
Danny. Where's Danny? Oh my God, I can't see anything.
Yes, sir.
Danny?
Yes, sir.
Just by looking at that, are we out of quadrant 1 or we're still in quadrant 1?
We're sort of still in quadrant 1.
Okay, so if we're in quadrant 1, what strategy do we use?
More of momentum.
Quadrant 1? Quadrant 1 is a weak bear. Huh? Can you go back to the
More of swing here, swing and momentum. Since we just want to make use of the short term, like
It's a what? It's a buy low, sell high, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Since it's a weak bear, it's a buy low, sell high, right? Okay. We can't do buy high, sell higher because we only use buy high, sell high strategies only when we're in quadrant 2. In other words, the market condition is bullish. So do you think if you look at our Philippine economy today, are we bullish or are we still trying to recover from the 2020 pandemic?
We're still trying to recover, sir.
Okay, all right. So very good. So you need to understand that. In other words, what we did was all these macro numbers, all this macro sentiment, we incorporated it into the understanding the different quadrants. Once you understand it, then you will know. For example, why we recommended, since we're still in quadrant 1, in a weak bear, when the market rallies, we should be buying or selling.
We can buy a bit, but we have to also put on some risk management so we don't buy a lot.
Okay. So in other words, when the market was being sold off about a month ago, for the last couple of months, and you see a huge rally, should you be buying more or should you be selling? Can you do the PSE chart, the latest one? Yeah, this one's okay. The market has gone up a lot, from 6263. Now it's what, 7,000? Is it?
Yes, sir. I think.
Okay,
1,000.
So should you be buying more or should you be just selling if you bought it about a month ago?
Personally, sir, I think more of selling than buying because we never
Okay,
know.
very good.
We never know if
In
it's
other words, yes, that's good. So in other words, you have to be doing a swing trading. Swing trading is all about what? Look for opportunity, enter when prices are being sold down. You always have to remember there's a fair value. It has to have you have to have a discount, a margin of safety. So in other words, when you have that consistency of looking for opportunities, when markets are selling off, you need to know your numbers well, right? And you have to understand that this is a buy low, sell high strategy, no? Rather than a buy high, hold it to forever, no? Thinking that it will recover, right? The economy will recover. All right. So that's what I did. I presented it. Is that they're asking me, so do we buy more or do we? It should be what? It should be a scaling out process. No? It's a scaling out process, right? When markets are being sold down, you want to look for opportunities. But it's not for all issues. There are some issues like the DNL issues or the Monde. We like those issues because the fair value is there. We basically continue to just hold on to it's a buy and hold issues. So if you go back to the chart, there's a what we call the buy and hold it. Look at that. There's a buy and hold there. Buy low, sell high, or buy low, buy and hold values. No, quadrant one. Yeah. Buy and hold values. Okay? What's your name again?
Boss lunch daw, sorry.
Huh?
We're unmuted now. Okay lang, kayo nag-unmute. We can hear you na. Tapos they prepared their snapshots if you want to call them. They can present companies.
Okay, good. Okay, all right.
You can just call them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got it? You got it? Sino kausap ko? My God. Danny, did you understand? Danny. So it's a buy low, sell high, or what? The issues that we like, it's a buy low, buy and hold. Okay? You got it? Since we're in quadrant one, we're still in quadrant one. And there's no momentum yet. There's none. It has not reversed, totally reversed. So if it has not totally reversed, it probably will just consolidate until when the economy basically becomes much better, then most of our analysts will start upgrading it already. All right? Okay? Let's look at the next slide. Do you guys understand what I said on the quadrants? Please understand it. Very important. You need to understand all the different quadrants. So let's go to the next few slides just to finish this presentation. All right. Yeah. Okay, we're done. We're okay. Okay. All right. So let me close. Let me just, well, at least in my presentation. Let me just share with you why I use this Winston Churchill quote, that the pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees opportunities in every difficulty. All right, so you need to have that, what we call an optimist. You have to be an optimist rather than a pessimist. Because if you're a pessimist, you won't be able to see opportunities. So in other words, crises create opportunities. There's always a crisis, especially when there's a market-driven crash. Your eyes has to be open, looking for disparity, huge disparity. No? So this is what I'm trying to share. Because a lot of the technician, of course, with like even me, I'm a market technician. I really don't participate, especially in the US, in all those capitulation play. I never participate because the market is so efficient. But in the Philippines, especially what we call emerging markets, will be a lot of opportunities, no? Especially in the Philippines because our market is very small. And there's always what we call a traffic. If they're buying, they will pay a premium to get in. And when they're getting out, they will sell at a discount to get out. No? So always have that mindset. Remember that because of market illiquidity, our market is very illiquid. So the foreigner, when they're selling, especially on the addition on the MSCI, you would see opportunities for us to be able to participate. Okay? So like, for example, in the case of CNPF, we're selling on the way up because CNPF was participated because we like the issue, right? So it's a buy and hold. But when it was added, it creates an opportunity for us to sell at a premium. That's why we're getting out already. No? And then hopefully that by the MSCI, I think by the end of the month, everything is done. An absence of buyer, the price will automatically consolidate back to fair value. So that's why the mean is also a mean reversion. It's like a buying climax. For us, it's selling climax is like a capitulation. Buying climax is also like a euphoria. And after that, once the buying is finished, automatically the price will consolidate. It will go back to the mean of the fair value. Okay? So just for us to have this small, presentation, for you to be able to understand what are the things that are very important for us to be able to look at. First is that I have to understand where are we today, which is what for us is quadrant one. So companies that we like, we feel it passes the 4 Ps. We'll buy and hold it for values, okay, for growth and values. Second is that when there is an opportunity for us to be able to participate during those kind of market-driven sell-off, we will use this capitulation, mean reversion, investment strategy. But as prices goes up, we will be scaling out already. All right. So you need to understand The last is all about reversals. How do you look for reversal? Reversal takes a long, long time. That's why we don't talk about reversals until, like for example, in the case of DNL, the reversal is so long, and since I think almost 6 months of consolidation before it starts reversing. So that's what we're looking at. So it's a buy and hold. Monday is also a buy and hold for future growth. Yeah. Okay. All right. So any questions before we go to each of your? I think nasa na ba yan, ba?
Yeah, there's snapshots, company presentation.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's good. All right. Any questions on the presentation I gave? No questions? Next week, tapos na tayo. Ha?
Alvin, tsaka si...
Okay, Alvin, yes.
Yes, sir. Question. So when you're wearing the active investor hat, but you're more focused on the business side, and then if it's far from fair value, like if it has a margin of safety. But then you also mentioned we should also look at the technicals, because if the price is going down, parang we won't buy it. So for the VAR, sir, do you like, for example, when you trade, you only use 1 to 2 VAR. So for investing, like you allow more VAR, and then for the indicators, like is your only indicator the fair value, or do you use like longer moving averages for like when to sell it? For example, sir, you bought it at 10 and then the fair value is 15, but then around the 12 pesos it broke, let's say the MA 100. So at that point, would you sell or still wait for it to go to fair value?
Very good question. Let me share with you about the difference between active investing and active trading. All right? An active investing, basically, we don't normally use VAR. We always use let's say 10 to 15 stocks that we like, right? And we invest in it, meaning it has a discount, a margin of safety discount on the company we like. May checklist yan, eh, ba? Once we have a checklist, that's why we'll buy it. Once we buy it, we don't sell it. That's why it's wearing in that, buying a business. In other words, I'm investing in businesses rather than basically, the technical is important also for us. But once we see values, huge values, I have to wear that investment hat, because if I don't wear that investment, I don't, because we're investing in businesses, right? Do you understand? Alvin, you got it? All right.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes, sir.
of course, when it's nearing fair value, you're asking, the next question you're asking, do I sell it or not? Right? That's what you're saying, right? It depends. Depends on where we are. If we are in quadrant 1, the answer is yes. All right? If the economy has recovered and we're seeing the index breaking out of a new high, then I should wait for fair value to reach the fair value. Okay? Right? Because we're investing in businesses, right? In other words, we're active investors. Now, if you're just starting and you are basically the reason why for all our traders, their mandate is being an active trader. So that's why we have to put in the rules of the VAR. We basically have to classify whether it's a momentum, it's a swing, it's a capitulation. These are all VAR related. They cannot do what we do, because what we do basically is because we need to hold on to those businesses. While the traders, they cannot. It's all VAR based. Now, they can increase the VAR from 1 to 2 to 3% on capitulation. They can do that. They can do that, right? During capitulation, for example, the capitulation mean reversion, they can put a 1% VAR, 2% VAR. We don't have a problem, right? But me, for example, if I'm managing Mania, the one that I manage, we cannot be when, we know when to enter, right? And then what we do is that it's 5 to 8% of the total portfolio lang. So it's more of a portfolio based lang, up to 10 to 15 companies lang that we manage it for them. Even if we like the issue so well, probably a maximum 8% lang of the total portfolio. Kasi we're managing, I think, more than $1 billion or something on the high network. So that's what we do. 5 to 7 to 8% lang yan. We cannot do more than that. There's a cap. But we don't cut. Meaning, pag mura na yan, wala na. We cannot cut anymore. So that's wearing the active investing hat. It's not the trading hat. But for all our traders, wala. Kailangan active trading lang. There's a 1% or 2%. Maximum, I think, 2% bar lang. In the Philippines, but in the US, they cannot touch this capitulation, mean reversion. No such thing. It's all about trend trading. It's all about momentum. So it's basically the maximum, probably support area, swing trading is up to 100-day lang, EMA. And that's it. Anything break down 100-day, kailangan you have to risk off them on that particular issue or that particular sector. Did I answer your question, Alvin?
Sir, can I ask 2 follow-up questions related to it?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, sir. So you mentioned that you're only willing to risk 8% of the total portfolio. But then, yeah, what if the stock goes down? You said you don't cut it. So what would be like the balance, sir? And then second follow-up question, sir. For example, when we're in a strong bullish market and the stock already reached fair value, would you sell it agad or wait for it to parang carry on a little bit momentum pa since it's a strong bull trend?
Anytime it reach fair value, we probably, if we still feel that it's going to go up, the numbers are still going to be strong, we probably will sell half and then ride the balance. That's what we'll do, right? Yes, we do not cut. Meaning, if we enter it, for example, the market, it's a market-driven crash, right? And we participate. No such thing as cut loss anymore. You cannot do that because the clear client or us, kami walang problema kasi we'll cut it. No? But for client wearing that investment hat, we cannot cut it for the client already. So in other words, if you are a fund manager, the answer is no. You cannot cut it. Because you cannot be too moving in and out, you wear this investing hat, tapos kasi breakdown, kakat mo. So hindi pwede yan. No? Hindi pwede yan. But for our people, for our trader, their mandate, they're not supposed to do that. They always have a cut yan. Always have a cut. So if you're starting, if you're young, yes, the answer is yes. The problem is when your portfolio grows so big already, you cannot do that anymore. No? That's why most fund managers cannot have what we call 30-50% return. There's no such thing, right? Because if you can average 12 to 15% compounded over time, mayaman ka na rin eh, di ba? Right? Di ba? Because you're managing big money. When you're managing, wala yan, no such thing. You have to invest in businesses. Kailangan negosyo. You have to look at the business. And that's why the 4 P's comes into play. People, product, potential, predictable. You need to know these people well. So that when you buy them during crisis, when you participate, then wala nang cut loss yan. Wala nang cut loss yan. So that's why we always talk about the momentum investment strategy of Adam Koo is basically that. Right? When it's expensive, he uses momentum to take him out. But when there's value, wala na. He wears that investment hat. He basically then rebalancing lang yan. It's all about rebalancing when prices are going up. And then he likes the company, but it's more than fair value already. He will sell it. So magre-rebalance yan eh. And he has done very well. That's why you need both hats. You need that investment hat, and you have to understand momentum. Because if you don't understand momentum, wala, mahirapan ka talaga. Are we good?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, who's the next one? Who's the asked question?
Hi, sir. My question is about the market cycle clock. So how do we determine in which quadrant na tayo? Especially pag kunwari from strong bear to weak bear, ganun. How do we determine?
Okay, very good question. Let me show you the chart then. What we do is we use the 200 moving average. 200 moving average MAN, SMA, EMAN. Right? Anything below 200, that's the beginning of a strong bear before it reverses, which is a weak bear. Ganun lang. Let's go to big charts. Let's see the example. 200-day lang, 200-day. For example, like the SPY, the SPY, the US market. Very interesting ito. This one is very interesting. Look at one 2 years yan. Okay. Sino ba yun?
Harold.
The one asking? Harold.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what quadrant do you think that what? From a strong bear, right? From a strong bear, di ba? Then suddenly it all went all the way up. Wala nang reversal pattern, it's a V. What is that? Do you consider it as a strong bull? What do you think?
Oh, yes, sir. Kasi nag-cross ng 200 days, Emma. Is it correct?
It's a V, di ba? It's V. It just went up, continually channeling up yan, 60 degrees yan eh. Di ba? Right? It skipped the what? What did it skip? It skipped the quadrant 1. Do you see it? So the
yes,
question
sir.
yes, that's right. So the question you're asking, so let's look at the PSEI then. Sometimes may skip yan because of intervention, di ba? So look at this MSCI. What do you think? What do you see there? It's the same, right? After the strong bear, right? Then the weak bear coming in. So we're still trying to reverse it, di ba? It went up first, then nag-reverse yan eh. So we're basically just in a box, di ba? You got it? You see it? Do you see the difference? That's your 200 day, no?
Red.
Yeah. Harold, do you see it?
Sorry, clarify, sir. This is a weak bear.
It is quadrant 1. We're in a quadrant 1 pa. We have not reversed.
But then, how come nag-cross na tayo ng Emma 200?
Yes, of course. Yes. But it's not going to a new high pa. Wala pang new high yan eh. It's trying to reverse. Right? It's trying to reverse. It's still trying to reverse. You cannot literally, let's say we use a 200 day as a basis lang, di ba? But then you have to look at it, is that if you look at this, it's still a buy low sell. We're still in a quadrant 1 yan. We're still, at least from my take, the only time it will be a strong bull is when it goes to 52-week new high na yan eh. Nakuha mo?
Yes.
You got it?
Yeah, thank you.
Wearing hats lang, wearing the different hats lang. For example, DNL. Let's look at DNL. So what do you think is this? Has it reversed or not yet?
Not yet.
So we're still in what? Are we still in quadrant 1? Or going from quadrant 1 moving to quadrant 2? The beginning of the...
From quadrant 1 to quadrant 2.
Oh, di ba? Malapit na, di ba? Right? So when is this going to be confirmed that it's quadrant 2? It's a strong bull. When will that be? It has to be from where? Earnings, right? Right? Di ba? So in other words, if you feel that the second, third quarter, they're recovering, or first quarter, they recovered 20-25% already. So in other words, if going forward, they can maintain the 25-30% seen from last year, what do you think? What are the chances for them to go up? Go up or down?
Up. Definitely
Go up.
up.
Then. Yeah, ganun lang. Simplified lang. Using the different quadrants lang. Not only in the index, but also in the individual issues. Okay? Right?
Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions?
Boss, we actually have a follow-up question to that from the Facebook stream.
Yes.
Someone named Ryan just asked also, is there a way to quantify whether that quadrant that we are currently in is sustainable moving forward or not?
Is sustainable or not? When people ask me, what do I think of the index by the end of the year? Sabi ko, kung alam ko lang, mayaman na ako. Hindi ko rin alam yan. No? But what we do is probability, right? This is a game of probability. In other words, if we look at it, if we look at the issue, we like the issue, we think it's growing, what we will do is basically we will wear that investment hat now. Confirm with what? Confirm also with technicals. Meaning, if DNL, for example, is not showing me those kind of consolidation before the breaking out of it, I will not participate because it's not dirt cheap. There's no market-driven crash today. There's none. Wala naman eh. Di ba? No, you got it. So, did I answer his question? What was his question? Is thinking
whether it's sustainable or.
I really don't know. I really don't know. I don't have that answer. The only way for us to answer it is it's all hindsight, right? It's in other words, it's probability for us. We look at the issues, we like the issue, it's a buy and hold, and we just have to have that patience to wait for it for the numbers to come out on the second and third quarter and see if it can recover. Now, as far as the PSEI is concerned, that one I can answer. The probability is the market will just continue to go sideways until the reopening is, the vaccination is fully in play, the earnings of the reopening of all the different the malls. Then probably the earnings will start recovering for the SM, Ayala, Mega World, all these property companies. Because once these properties companies start running, then now the banks, the cyclicals will now also catch up also. No? Once the reopening is done, if the reopening is not done, matagal pa ito. But I just came from Baguio last weekend. My God, everything is packed because it's very strict. It's like a bubble. Everybody has to have an antigen. You go in, but then it's like a lot of construction happening out in Baguio. Fantastic. I mean, I'm so happy that it's happening. And the food is so expensive. The food is so good and it's so expensive. So that means all the restaurants there are doing very well. All the restaurants there are doing very well. Or at least the one that we went to. Sobrang daming tao sa Baguio. So which is good. So for me, whether it can be sustainable, yeah, I think so. I think we've seen the worst. So probably channeling up on the PSE. Hopefully that reopening, the vaccination will be better. Then channel up yan. Then eventually, the participation of the stronghold will come in. When the earnings starts kicking in already. Yeah, probably the answer will be yes. So on an overall, on the PSE side, I think, yeah, sustainable.
He says thank you. Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Anything else?
More questions, guys. Don't be shy to ask. It's your chance.
Ores, gutom na ako.
Si Danny.
Danny, yes.
Yes, sir. So I guess another side of sustainability, but my question is more of like, how do you actually identify if the market is reversing or if it's just a shake-off? So how do you know when to adjust your cut loss or if you can still hold pa?
You're talking about being a technician, no? Market technician.
Yes.
So when you ask me, I will think that we are talking the same language, right? We are market technician.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you're a market technician, I also send you some PDF on some of the setup that I like. Did you send that, Sheena?
Which one?
This one.
The big setups. Yes.
Okay. I will try to explain to you guys next week on my favorite setups. Okay, Danny, right? So in other words, I don't know if you saw the one that we sent. It's a PDF on all my favorite setups. Try to understand it. You have to try to understand it because I don't expect you guys to overnight knows everything, right? But these are the setup that protected me. These are all my favorite setups, right? From momentum to swing to what we call the Holy Grail to cup and handle. These are all setups that I think all of you should try to understand. And I'll try to go over with you guys on next Monday. Next Monday. You can ask me all kinds of questions on technicals because I was born and raised as a market technician. And after when I started doing well and my portfolio started growing, I have to wear the investment hat. In other words, I was a market technician for so many years before Then as my portfolio grows bigger, I have to now understand businesses, invest in businesses. So I started as a, may kwento yan eh. I started as, like most of you guys, I think Kobe asked me the question, sir, if you only have 100,000, what do you do? Siyempre, all in tayo, di ba, Kobe, di ba? I mean, so I started as a speculator. Then I became an investor. Right? Kasi pag malaki na yung size mo, kailangan, you have to invest in businesses, di ba? Right? Right? And then, I became what? A director. Naipit. Kasi, di ba? Kasi as you were the investment hub, you have to invest in companies. Then you become a, what? Investor, naging director kasi akala ko mura eh. So, bili ako ng bili. Right? And then later on, I became a what? Naipit eh, naging director. Tapos naging issuer na. So in other words, it was a progression yan. In other words, you start from being a technician, a speculator, then you need, as your portfolio size becomes bigger, right? Then you become an investor, di ba? And then when you see values naman, naipit ka, naging director na lang, then naging director, di ba? And then eventually I became an issuer, right? I also became a was part of the company that basically parang corporate raider, pero hindi ako. I didn't participate in that. In other words, I started as a speculator. Kasi you have to know the rules. Active investing lang natin. Active trading lang talaga. Kasi maliit na yung pera natin eh. So we have to be more efficient in terms of how we do this. That's why you need to understand all this momentum strategy, momentum setup. Kailangan maintindihan mo yan. Then eventually, as your portfolio grows bigger, then kailangan you have to wear that investment hat na. Kailangan naghahanap ka na ng company that, because that's where you will make a lot of money eh. Right? By buying into businesses eh. Investing in businesses, kailangan maintindihan mo yan eh. Di ba? And then, eventually, you create your own company. That's the reason why we created, become an issuer. We became a corporate, we got ourselves listed for COL. So may process yan, may process. So in other words, the first thing that you have to assume, if you're actively trading, you're speculating in the market. We just assume you're speculating in the market. Kailangan speculative kasi limited lang yung capital, nag-umpisa ka lang eh, di ba? So you have to know the different rules talaga. We require all our traders to just be active traders. Kailangan, pag mali yan, you have to cut it. Everything has a setup, everything has a bar, risk management is in play. It's risk first, profit second. When the market breaks down, they have to step aside. Back to cash yan, 100%. Now, as an investor, totally different. As market crashes, we wear investment hat. We're investing in businesses, di ba? Kasi that's where you create wealth. Eh. Create wealth is by investing in businesses. Eh. For example, I mean, after 20, 30 years, if you bought $10,000 worth of Microsoft, Google it. How much do you think it's worth now? Or you 30 years ago, you invest $5,000, $10,000 of Apple. Look at it. Where is it today? But we're young. We have to, di ba? I mean, it's hard to wait for 10, 20 years to be able to realize a company, right? So that's why you need to understand all the different rules of being a market technician. But you need to understand what you're buying, para you increase your probability that your hit ratio is higher, right or wrong? Pag wala kang fundamentals, your hit ratio will just be 30, 40%, eh, right? Diba? The other problem also is that if you are in a quadrant 3, for example, especially now when markets are overbought, can you hold the issue? You cannot hold the issue because when you're buying, everything is expensive. Eh? Diba? So it should be buy low, sell high also. On quadrant 3, it's a buy low, sell high strategy also. Right? Unlike last year, you can buy and hold it. Right? Strong bull. Walang problema. Today, you buy it, you have to sell it. You don't sell it, bumabalik eh. Kasi it's an overbought market. And the strategy has to be different. That's why we tell all our traders, we basically understand the different quadrants. Once the quadrant 3 today, especially in today's environment, even if you buy all the growth issues, pag hindi ka nagbebenta, nawawala, bumabalik yan. We're good? Any more questions?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
where are you?
yes, sir. Question, but more on the investing side. So more on the fundamental portfolio side. How do you decide how many stocks to buy? Is it like you find stocks which cross a hurdle rate of, let's say, 50% or 60% and divide your port accordingly to how many companies you find? Or is it you have a goal first na, oh, I want to find 5 different industries which are not super correlated, and then you divide your portfolio accordingly and then select the best companies there?
The problem is I think if you want a portfolio, you have to have you need to how do you say this? Because everything is correlated. Everything is correlated. You can say whatever you want. Let's say the S&P has about what 10 different sectors. When the market goes down, 85% will go down naman eh. Diba? So it's basically when you're wearing that investing hat, it has to be more bottom up eh. Right? And then there's a maximum, cannot be more than 10% of the total portfolio yan, right? Most of the fund managers about 2 to 3% lang, and then they rebalance it lang. When it goes up, then they rebalance it. No? If they still like the story, what we'll do is they'll top slice it, di ba? And then just cap it at, let's say, 5 to 8% lang maximum talaga. It cannot be, you cannot use a bar base. A bar base is only for active traders talaga. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Another question, sir, if okay lang.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So for example, you bought a stock and you think the fair value is around 100 pesos and you expect it like around 3 to 5 years time. But then let's say it's already year 7 and it's still hovering around 80 pesos. But then you see like a major downtrend. For example, it's gonna break the MA for 100. So at that point in time, sir, should you give a little more weight to the MA, even though if you're an investor, or should you still hold true to your analysis? And then let's say you already did an analysis again at year 7, and then yeah, it's still a good business.
Well, the thing is that if it's a good business and it's not going up, then there's a problem, right? Right? I mean, so what you need to do is that's why you have to always looking for new businesses and new companies that are getting listed, and then you can start switching the one that's not being confirmed by price. Right? For example, like for example, for us, when we look at this company, we love it, but the problem is it's not going anywhere. What we'll do is that we find another new company, we can start switching to the other side. Right? Always remember, you need the market to confirm whether you're right or wrong in terms of the companies that you're buying. Because if you're buying a wrong company, if you think it's a good company, but the market is not telling you it's a good company, then maybe there's something wrong. Right? In other words, if you have done your due diligence, it's part of the 4 Ps, it's a growing business. Believe me, that share price needs to be confirmed, or else there's something going on. Price yeah, Alvin.
Yeah. Sorry. So with that, sir, is there like an indicator that would tell you, oh, should I be more patient muna, or oh, something's definitely wrong? Like, would it be a super long MA or something?
Like I said, if you're buying values, deep value, sometimes it takes a while talaga. But if I'm an active investor, unless I can find something better, I'll just hold it. If the number still confirms it, diba? Right? The business is still growing, and then you're just saying that the market is not seeing it, so that's why it's called. It could be a value trap, right? That's why it's called. When prices are not going up and you see that it's growing, then it could be a value trap for a while. For a while lang yan, but eventually that thing has to recover, because the corporation, when they see values, meaning mura na sila, they'll do some corporate buyback to take the shares off the market. That's why you need to understand the PSE so that you'll be able to know whether, because for example, if I know it's a good business and it's growing business, we're gonna get my cash flow in the next few quarters, in the next few years. What do? Individually, if I have money, I'll probably buy it. If not, what will I do? I use a corporate buyback to buy back the shares, right? to support the shares. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
If ever, sir, can I still ask 2 questions or?
Yeah. You can ask all you want.
Okay, so as a fund manager or investor, when you see a market sentiment going wrong, for example, around January or February in COVID, and you see, let's say, a drop of 20% in one day, like would your mindset be, oh, there's a very bad market ahead? So would you sell like let's say half of your portfolio, or would you hold to it, or would you sell all?
You're talking about January and February.
Yeah, like for example, oh, you know na, oh, there could be a possible pandemic kasi there's a virus. But then syempre kasi right now we have the benefit of hindsight. But let's say January or February, and then you see a market sentiment going kind of wrong. Like how would you manage your funds? Would you sell?
You have to remember that market in PSEI rallied all the way to 7,300. Let's look at PSEI. So you need to be selling, right? Because we're still in quadrant 1. Did you get it? You need to protect your whatever profit that you have that participate in August, September. It went up a lot, so you need to scale out yan, right? That thing went up a lot. Diba? During that time, nag-breakout doon. Right? You have to put 100-day there. 100-day. Walang 100-day. That's where we went in. After the long consolidation. Yeah. Take away the 200 para makita niya. Also, take away the 200. Take away the 200. 20, 50, 100 lang yan. 3 lines lang.
Sorry, naka-remember kasi.
Hindi, you have to delete it lang. EMA. Ano ba yan?
May glitch ata eh. Ayaw eh. Open, it's not.
Open a new one. Open a new one.
It's not. Oh, naka-remember.
This is the first time I remember yan.
Try nyo pa yung other draw chart bottom on the bottom.
Smart guy, smart guy.
Okay. So Alvin, look at this, right? So in other words, the market has rallied all the way. Diba? All the way. I think it's August yata yan, in the rally.
Oh, sorry, sir. My question is around February, sir. So before the market.
It rallied from August to February. Then you should be coming off the table, diba? Umakyat na yan eh. Diba? You see it? It went up a lot. So it's natural for us to take money off the table.
Oh, sorry, sir. If ever my question is like before last year na March na sell down. So around January to February where the COVID news was going out pala.
Last year, 2020, voila, we're out of the market. When it breaks down, that market basically, so it was a quadrant 3 yan eh. Yeah. You should be getting out. In fact, we were out of the market. Before the market drops, we were out of the market.
If ever, sir, what major indicator allowed you to have that decision, sir?
Yeah, 100 and 200 day moving average lang yan.
There's 200.
200 day lang yan. 200 day lang yan. No, from last year.
The break.
Yeah. The breakdown, we can see it. Nakita naman yan eh.
That's sir. Okay.
It breaks
last question, sir.
You need to get out. Yes.
Yes, sir. So you mentioned switching between investing and trading hat. Do you ever have a hard time switching between the two? Because sometimes there's conflicting things. Yeah.
Very good question also. You're asking a person who basically wears an investment hat also. No? Okay. I think if you listen to I shared that 3 years ago. Yeah. Uh, when I like a company, when I love a company, I will hold it. I will hold it. It's what happens. Sometimes it takes me 2.5 years. No, but I'm really very fortunate that I understand how to trade markets. I'm also actively in the market, and I participate. What I did was, if I like a company, wala na, pag mapapaipit na tayo, di ba? Kaya nga naging director eh. Right? An investor naging director eh. Okay, that's really the problem. The problem is after being a director, buying 2 board seats, then the company basically issue a 1 billion to dilute us. Wala na. After that, wala na. Diba? That's why I promised myself, I'm not a good dude. I'm not gonna do these things anymore, right? So in other words, there's a cap, 5 to 8% maximum lang in each of the issues. But my personal, I only invest in one company. Which company do you believe? Which company do I like, Alvin?
Not sure, sir, but maybe Ayala Land's a good stock also.
No. My own company. I only believe in my own company. That's why I became an issue.
Joke.
So whatever. So in other words, if you look at me, I've been buying CEO shares for the last 15, 20 years. Right? If I have a dividend, I buy back my shares now. Right? So it's what we call save, invest, reinvest. In other words, in my position today, I trade everything that's on the board. Right? And when I make money, I invest it in my own companies, COL. Then hopefully one day CTS Global, right? And that's what I do because I've created my own paper already, right? And I have to believe in my own company, right? Did you understand? So meron akong piggy bank talaga. So when I make money, I just piggy bank it. That's why I need to be good in what I do, which is actively trading the market, right? But then when there's a capitulation, I participate also. Pati rallies, binibenta ko rin yan. Tapos the money I make, I give it to my wife. So she's the real winner. Diba? So that's why you need to understand momentum, how to trade it, how to trade markets. And then may piggy bank ka talaga. Because that piggy bank, one day, is the one that will create the wealth for you. So what we do is that we just create our own paper, create our own business. Now I have to remember, I'm wearing a what? Do I invest in businesses or do I build businesses? Alvin?
Both, sir.
Yes. Invest in businesses, actively trading it, and then build businesses. That's what I do. I'm an entrepreneur. I build businesses talaga. That takes so long, right? I mean, to build a business, right? So that was also in there was an interview between me and Wilson C. Wilson C is a great investor. He's like the Warren Buffett of the Philippines. He invests in businesses all over the world, and he has done very well for himself. Magaling siya. You should learn from. We should all learn from him. If you don't have if you want to wear that investment hat, he's the guy. He basically it's like a Warren Buffett. They just invest in businesses. Do you understand? And then they hold it forever, right? But me, I build businesses, so I need the cash flow also, right? We're good?
Sir, super last question. Yeah.
Kaya kawawa kayo, hindi kayo nagtatanong ha. Sige. Okay, yes sir.
So for example, you divided your portfolio, let's say 50% for investing, 50% for trading. And then let's say there's a lot of good opportunities for trading. Would you suggest moving the money like back and forth or stick to it, sir?
It's called leverage. Leverage. You have to use the margin finance of interactive broker, right? Anyway, you're just gonna trade it lang naman eh, di ba? Right? The other one is really for investing. In other words, you need to piggyback all these things, eh, di ba? Right? Because if you time those issues, especially the one which being recommended by ARK Invest, right? I mean, those companies, my God, will take a while, right? I mean, the strong bull was done. Now we're in what we call the weak bull. It will take a long time before it starts reversing again. Eh. Takes a while talaga. Matagal yan. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Super, thank you, sir.
Tama na, gutom na ako. Hindi pa kayo gutom?
Should we wrap it up there?
Let's wrap it up.
Okay, so thank you.
EG, you're muted. EG, you're